The Last of Us Season 2 is happening, and I have to say, I think it's going to be horrible. Because Season 1 was already complete trash, in my honest opinion. And if you think otherwise, I mean, it happens. We can disagree on things. But I absolutely hated Season 1. I have multiple videos on that bad boy. I barely could watch like 4 episodes. So much woke nonsense. The plot was horrible. I mean, listen, literally. First time Ellie goes out of the goddamn encampment, and then they are gonna go into a place that has clickers in it, and she's asking Joel, what do we do? What do we do? And he's like, then she asks the woman, what's going on? What's going on? Scoops up a pile of dirt, shoves it in her stupid autistic face, by the way. And the woman's like, no, I'm sorry, I can't call that scene anything else but fucking autistic. They had enough time. They had enough time to explain to Ellie what the fuck a clicker is. Not instead just be like, and do that. And then she's like, I don't get what's going on. And the wokeness, the literal pure gay scene, which had nothing to do with the story, but they did it. Which, by the way, ironically, was the best episode that I watched, and that shit promoted self-deletion. That whole goddamn episode, the whole point of it was to glorify self-deletion if something doesn't go your way. Get sad? Well, I guess go to Canada and get in a goddamn pod. God, I cannot... There is not enough time in the universe for me to talk about everything I hated about The Last of Us. Season 1. Just first 3 or 4 episodes. I cannot. None of the motivations make sense. None of the characters are likable. If you're gonna adapt a game to a movie, you gotta make choices. You gotta be true to the story, but you gotta make choices. Same thing for books, to video games, to games, to movies, to books. You gotta make changes. Oh my god, I can't. I hate The Last of Us Season 1 so much. And now there's gonna be a 2.
The past few years have seen the dawn of a new era for video game adaptations. Yeah, they'd definitely been attempted before, with varying degrees of success, but it's only in the past 5 years or so that Hollywood has seen the true potential of stuff like this and decided to exploit it. And who could blame them, really? The amount of money...
It's actually so insane, because Hollywood was doing shitty video game adaptations for decades. I mean, seriously, for like 3 decades at this point they have been doing it. And it has been failing because everyone in Hollywood just doesn't like anything else but sniffing their own farts. So if they don't like something, they instantaneously assume it cannot succeed because they are the purveyors of the world and what is good in life.
Money being made by the video game industry absolutely dwarfs what Tinseltown manages to bring in each year. The budgets for AAA games make a mockery of even the most bloated of blockbusters, which is kind of creating its own set of problems, but that's a topic for another video. The point is, I can totally understand why the fine people of Hollywood want to jump on this particular bandwagon. It allows you to exploit a vast back catalogue of pre-existing characters and storylines without going through the difficult process of coming up with original ideas. There's a huge built-in audience,
but still destroying already existing and established ideas that people like. Yeah.
That should, in theory, be super hyped for your product, and you could even tie your big movie release into the game with special downloadable content, creating some weird Ouroboros of entertainment. Anyway, so far the results have ranged from good, to bad, to ugly, to downright baffling. But one of the big success stories in this...
Dude, Resident Evil was so bad. People didn't watch it even, okay? People have memory hold this thing so hard. I did not watch it. Listen, I talk about the bad stuff, but I rarely actually watch it. You see, I'm smart because I can recognize the bad shit, and I have enough self-control to actually not watch it. Okay, I watch the bad stuff that looks funny and potentially could be that bad that it is funny. For example, The Acolyte. Velma. You know, those are the things that I watched. But, like, Resident Evil, The Rings of Power, get the fuck out. I'm not watching that. I'm not subjecting my brain cells are already fighting for third place and there's only 2 left. You think I can afford to lose half what makes me me? Hell no!
Downright baffling. But one of the big success stories in this confusing patchwork was The Last of Us, based off the best-selling video game series by Naughty Dog. I mean, as far as source material goes, The Last of Us was kind of a no-brainer, really. The game was as close to being a movie as the John Wick films were to being video games, and so it lent itself pretty naturally to a TV adaptation. Yeah, it might not have been perfect, it definitely dragged.
God damn it, though. The way that this idiot got fucking put in everything, and then people were saying, oh, look at that, he gets social anxiety and he needs to hold someone's hand to feel better about himself. That's so cute. Bro, when I do that with people I don't know in public, people start yelling and screaming. But he can? Where's the fairness?
Badly in places. The 2 main characters weren't as well developed or likable as in the game. The cast.
She literally looks like she's gonna at any point just look for the nearest pile of dirt and start scooping it up, like with a shovel in her goddamn mouth because she's that autistic looking. I can't. Well, I can't. Why is Ellie a literal mouth breather?
Was questionable at best, and for a post-apocalyptic zombie survival show, there was a distinct lack of zombies towards the end, but overall, I think people were fairly happy with it. But there was a problem looming on the horizon, dear viewer, and that problem came in the shape of Season 2.
Oh man! Oh god! Oh man!
See, much like Season 1 took its inspiration from the first game in the franchise, Season 2 was going to have to draw on its sequel to carry on the story. And well, there's no...
Well, the problem is the sequel is unanimously hated. Now, the reality is there's still a lot of people who are gonna lay their life down for Naughty Dog for some stupid reason. They're like super fanboys like Bethesda has and whatnot. But, I mean, who cares? But yeah, they exist.
Getting around this one, The Last of Us Part 2 was a bit of a fucking pig. No matter how many slobbering games journalists fell over themselves to fillet Neil Druckmann's throbbing shaft, and no matter how many meaningless industry awards it got showered with, the fact remains that The Last of Us Part 2 was, at best, one of the most divisive and damaging games in the history of the medium. Whether it was the brutal and mean-spirited execution of beloved characters...
Finish him! Fatality.
The retconning of past events to demonize people who made completely understandable choices at the time. The insufferable girl bosses who could do anything, beat up guys twice their size and don't take no shit from no man.
What you got there?
Bigot sandwiches.
Ellie's gay, by the way. Or whatever the hell this ridiculous slab of beef was supposed to be.
God, I hate it. This is disgusting.
It all added up to a game that left a sour taste in people's mouths that felt like it was made by a completely different...
I don't want to watch it, honestly. I'm serious. I get physically disgusted looking at whatever the fuck Abby is supposed to be. I just don't want to watch it even.
Creative team with completely different objectives in mind, and that trampled all over the legacy of its predecessor to achieve it. It was basically the gaming equivalent of The Last Jedi, and it had a similar effect on the fan base. The upshot of all of this is that HBO now find themselves in a bit of a no-win situation with Season 2, where any course of action is going to end up alienating a good chunk of their audience. If they deviate from the plot of the game and change key events in response to audience backlash, it's going to massively piss off fans of Part 2. And yes, apparently such people do exist. Then again, there's also people who find fat girls attractive. It makes no sense to me, but each to their own, I guess. On the other hand, if they
No. There are limits where we don't say, oh, everyone's choice is fine. No. There are lines that we make and don't cross, okay?
Stick closely to the plot of the game, which is what they did with Season 1, then it's going to piss off basically everyone else. And here's the thing, if I had to make a prediction here, I'd say they're probably going to take the second option. Yeah, it flies in the face of logic, common sense, and basic human decency, but when Neil Druckmann is your showrunner, you don't need to worry about stuff like that. See, Last of Us Part 2 was very much Neil Druckmann's baby, his magnum opus, and changing key parts of it for the TV adaptation adaptation would be an admission of defeat, and his ego just won't allow for that. In fact, to cement this idea, he even brought in Hallie Gross, the co-writer for the game, to work on this season, which should really tell you everything you need to know about where this show's heading creatively. It's gonna do what the game did and probably double down on it. While I'm here, there's a few other concerns that I might as well mention now because I think they're gonna factor into the show's overall reception. The first of which is the casting. Yeah, we all meme on Pedro Pascal for showing up in basically everything these days, and while I'm sure
Okay, listen. As long as Zendaya is not put in here somehow, maybe. Okay? If the girl from Snow White is not put in here, maybe. Rachel Zegler, you know? If Rachel Zegler and Zendaya don't show up, I mean, at least 10% more of people will kind of not hate this. Okay, it is what it is.
he'll turn in the same reliably acceptable performance that he brings to every one of the 500 or so projects he shows up in every year. You're never going to get me to concede that he was the right guy to play Joel, just like he wasn't the right guy to play General Acacius in Gladiator 2. Yeah, he was perfectly fine in the role, I guess, because he's a good enough actor to make most characters work to some degree, but you could tell that it didn't really fit with his sensibilities as a performer. I get the impression that he's actually a bit of a sensitive soul in real life, probably more inclined towards flawed and vulnerable characters with a lot of emotional expression, wearing nice fluffy jumpers and doing bouncy showbiz interviews, but for some reason Hollywood keeps trying to market him as a rugged, grizzled tough guy, like he's the
That's because we need someone weak and malleable like that to represent masculinity. Remember, it's all still about subversion. Even if Trump now has won and we have reclaimed culture and society to the right direction, Hollywood is still gonna do what Hollywood does best, and that is subvert things. So, casting someone who is more on the weak side than on the masculine side as the masculine expression fits perfectly in with what they always wanted to do, and that is create soy boys out the bucket.
next Charles Bronson or Clint Eastwood or something, and it all feels about as authentic as Zendaya's career. All of this is to say that I don't think he was the right choice to play Joel. I don't especially like what he did with the character in season 1, and I don't expect it's going to get any better.
They need to literally spend 40 hours in the goddamn lab to fucking figure out how to make Zendaya even this much more attractable than your average 5 out of 10. And even then they barely can fucking succeed.
Better in season 2. But okay, fine, I guess that's a problem that'll solve itself eventually. The bigger issue is Ellie. Let's be real with ourselves, gentlemen. I think pretty much everyone agrees that Bella Ramsey was a bad choice to play this character. Like, I don't—
Yeah, I mean, damn. Not to be mean, but failed abortion should probably not have a TV career.
I don't want to shit on someone's appearance, but the job of any actor is to physically and emotionally embody the character that they're playing. And be honest here, out of all the teenage actresses who would have jumped at the chance to play Ellie, are you seriously telling me this was the best they could come up with?
Well, she's the most likely to naturally come out as a trans lesbian something, so, I mean—
Season 2 is also supposed to take place 5 years after the events of the first season, with a much more grown-up Ellie taking on the lead role in the narrative. The problem is that Bella Ramsey somehow still has the face and build of a 12-year-old girl, even though she's like 21 now, so I've got no idea—
What?! I actually assumed she was like 10. And yes, I was mean to a child. Literally could not care less. It's not my fault. So, she's 20? Oh my god, that is sad.
how they expect to make that one work, especially the action scenes where she has to come across as a dangerous fighter who'd rip your throat out if you messed with her. Jesus, at least teach her how to throw a punch. Appearances aside though, this season's also going to need her to do a lot of heavy lifting from an acting point of view, and honestly, I don't really think she has the range or the charisma to pull it off. She can manage a kind of smarmy, prickly aggressiveness, but that's basically the only thing I got from her in season 1. Ellie's unique combination—
That's because she doesn't need to pretend that just is her by default.
Nation of plucky bravery, fake bravado, childish innocence, and emotional vulnerability from the games was replaced by a kind of sneering, arrogant overconfidence where she was able to verbally spar with adults far older and more experienced than herself that made it pretty hard to like or even care about her after a while. And honestly, I don't know how they expect to get over that. The casting of Abby was always going to be a point of contention too, and to be fair, they've at least found an actress who looks like an actual human female this time around instead of whatever the fuck this was supposed to be. Seriously though, Caitlin Dever is a pretty good actress, and if you haven't watched her in...
I don't even remember, was Abby supposed to be an actual trans character in the game? I have no idea, but whatever it is, it's just not gonna ever work.
Then I can definitely recommend that show. If you don't already hate the pharmaceutical industry with every fibre of your being, then you definitely will after that. Anyway, the downside though is that the role of Abby is kind of a poisoned chalice, and I think she's going to come in for a lot of criticism no matter how well she plays it. I don't like it, but that's the hostile environment that the game created. Now,
okay, I'm done. I can't. I can't. I'm feeling sick looking at this. Anyway, that was the Critical Drinker, you obviously can tell. And Last of Us Season 2. I hated Season 1, I'm gonna hate Season 2. I'm not even gonna watch it, but I'm gonna enjoy the people who hate it. Bye!